All right, good evening and welcome to the Off the Ball Network Bets official EPL League season preview. We're going to give you our best bets for the season coming up, whether it's top four relegation teams, maybe some point totals and some goal scoring props, but we have a loaded slate for you here tonight. I'm your host, Kenneth Cotterill, the resident Man United fan, as you can tell from all the Red Devils gear. Unfortunately, I'm wearing a Rashford jersey, so I'm not feeling too confident about my Man United team, just like he did last year. And so I am joined by Francis Carlota, our resident Chelsea fan. Francis, how are you, man? Welcome back.
Hey, well, thank you for having me back. This is great to be on the show talking about some Premier League football or soccer. I'm going to try and call it football for respect for the global sport. Y'all can call it whatever. I'm going to try and call it football, be conscious of that. But yeah, it's good to see both of you, and I'm ready to talk about some Premier League football.
And we're also joined by another footy fan. He is our resident Tottenham Hotspurs fan. That is Walker Bailey. He's feeling good about his club heading into the year. Walker, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm good, and I felt really good. And then I saw like the market respect that they were giving Spurs, and I was like, whoa, this year may go even better than I thought it was going to go.
All right, so let's get right into things. We've got a loaded slate for you here tonight. We're going to touch firstly on some of the teams that are coming up this year. So last year, we did see Norwich, Burnley, and Watford all get relegated, but we will see three new clubs up in the Premier League this year. That is Bournemouth, Fulham, who is no stranger to the Premier League. They were up for a very long time, and then Nottingham Forest as well. So Walker, I'll start with you. What do you think of these clubs coming up?
So I don't really love Bournemouth this year. Like, I think that, like, for me, they're probably the worst of the three promoted teams. I'm really intrigued by Forest. Like, I don't like, and when I say intrigued, I mean, like, I don't really know what to make of it because there's going to be so many new pieces. You know, I like Steve Cooper a lot. I like the idea behind signing Jesse Lingard. It's just, you know, when you bring in, like, I want to say they brought in like 6 or 7 new players, but not to add to that team. Like, they've replaced a lot of people. Like, they had Jed Spence at right back last year that's playing for Tottenham now. And then, so I'm kind of curious to see how everything works out because I think like there's a ceiling where like they could be like the loud promoted team and finish, you know, closer to 10 than they do to the relegation zone. But I think there's a world where it just doesn't blend and like they're fighting relegation for the entire season. So I don't know what to make of them. Like, it's a team that I don't like. It's a team that I'll probably wait for some in-game markets and just kind of see what stuff looks like. Like, it's a team that I won't bet before the season starts. And then Fulham is my favorite of the three. Like, I think they'll stay up this year. I know we like to do the yo-yo thing, but they've solidified their defense a good bit. And then when you just look at like how they dominantly ran through the championship, the last time they came up, it wasn't like that. Like, they deserved to be promoted, but it wasn't this dominant force moving through the second division. And last year it was. So I think they've got enough in to stay up, and I think we'll see one of the sitting premier teams go down. And there's a couple of candidates I like for that, but we'll do that later.
Yeah, we're going to talk more so about the bottom of the table right out of the gate here. And Francis, is there a promoted team that you're intrigued by heading into the year?
I have to go with Fulham, and because I'm a big Anthony Robinson guy, being a U.S. men's national team fan, I think it's a fantastic left back who has just performed really well for Fulham over the past few years. And I mean, I really can't echo more what Walker said. I think they're a really solid team with attacking threat, a decent midfield, but also a defense that can really suffocate some teams and give teams some fits, especially when so yeah, I think Fulham is a good, safe bet to stay up this season in the Premier League.
This is my favorite bet for like best promoted team. I know it's a betting line that I can get on Bet99, and I think I look at Fulham and I think of like Brentford last year, and Brentford, they were the best team that came up, and a lot of it has to do with, I feel like you need that guy up front that can get you 10 goals in the Premier League. And they had Ivan Toney, who was phenomenal. I think Mitrovic is great. I think Harry Wilson was great. So this is a team that I like a lot. They're plus 123 to be the best promoted side. So I think that's going to be one that I definitely look at. Now, Walker, as you said, there's there's maybe a couple teams that are up right now that you're thinking could get relegated or that have been in the Premier League for a little bit. So what's maybe one of the ones that you really like right out of the gate?
So my favorite, and this is on DraftKings, and you can shop around and I'm sure find a better line, but I found a Wolverhampton Wanderers plus 550 to go down. And that's my favorite because last year they were 19th in XG against. They were like 18th in XG created, which means you're performing like a relegation side. It's like you kind of wonder, like, well, then how did they stay up and finish where they did? Well, Jose Sa was incredible in net last year, and he was one of the best keepers in the world. Like, I think he saved 10 goals above expected. And when you kind of dig into that, like keepers who have done that in the past have typically come back down to earth the following season. Like, I think it's only been done 3 times ever. One of them was by Hugo Lloris, which is like, okay, like that's a top of the line goalkeeper in the Premier League. And then the other 2 were teams that ended up dropping in the table, and they were basically average keepers the next year. So if you factor that in, along with Wolverhampton not making a bunch of key additions to their current squad, I think that if they play the way they played last year, or even a little bit better than they did last year, then that puts them right on the relegation zone. And at 5.5 to 1, I'd like to have that shot if they're going to be sitting right there at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's great value at plus 550. I think that's a really good one. Francis, any clubs for you that stayed up that you think have an opportunity to go down?
My guts is Southampton. I don't think that. I think they've had some troubles. They've been one of those teams that's always in the bottom half of the Premier League. Will they get relegated or will they just barely stay in the Premier League? And I think this might be a year they go down. Their striker that played for them last year, Emmanuel Broja, who was on loan for them from Chelsea, he's now back with Chelsea, and he played really well for them last year. And I don't think they'll have enough attacking firepower to stay in the Premier League. Like you mentioned, with Fulham, they have Mitrovic who can score goals. And I just don't think Southampton has a guy that can give them enough attacking threat to stay up. And I just don't think the team depth is there either. So I think Southampton has a decent shot to go down this year.
This one pains me to say because one of my best buds is a big Leeds United fan, but I really do think that Leeds is going down. And I know that they're plus 220, so the value is there still. I think losing Rafinha is pretty big. And when we look at what Leeds did last year, they gave up 79 goals, which was second worst in the Premier League. They were minus 37 goal differential. So I think losing a guy that provides those goals, I don't think that they've really shored up their back end enough or their midfield. And so I really am looking at this Leeds plus 220 as a potential one for me. I do hope that they stay up, obviously, but not too confident in that one. But when we're talking about the top of the table from last year, Manchester City guts it out at the end. They win on 93 points. That was a great final day to the season as well, to see City fall behind and then they come back in order to secure the 3 points they need. Then you had Liverpool on 92, Chelsea on 74, and then Tottenham on 71. So that was the top 4 last year. Now, are you guys of the opinion that the top 2 is still Man City, Liverpool? Walker, I'll start with you.
Yes, I think so.
I think that they're clearly above the other teams.
I do too, yeah.
Yeah, it's just head and shoulders. It really shouldn't be that much of a debate. Yeah.
And that's the thing. So when we start getting into top 4 bets, I mean, there's really no point in even looking at either of those two teams. You've got Man City at minus 5,000, and then you've got Liverpool at minus 1,250. But then it gets interesting after that because, as I said, Chelsea was third, you had Tottenham fourth. Arsenal was a very close fifth. And so, Walker, I know you're high on Tottenham. What would be your other 2 clubs that you would have in the top 4 along with Man City and Liverpool?
So for me, it would be Spurs and Arsenal. I think those are my 2 that I think finished top 4. I think Arsenal and not Arsenal and Spurs, Arsenal and United should probably be priced around the same in the market. Like, I think if you had one better than the other, I would probably flip the 2 just based on the results last year, based on Arsenal being fairly young. That core's really young. I like the business they did this summer. I think Gabriel Jesus fits that roster really well. So, like, if you had told me, like, I think sitting at DraftKings, I think United is 28 to 1 to win the league and Arsenal's like 35 to 1, like, I'd probably have those flip. So so for me, this is actually going to be this will be an official play, but I found an Arsenal plus 150 to finish top 4 a week or 2 ago. And I think I saw like a plus 130 even today sitting somewhere. So I'm going to play that. I think they finished fourth.
I've got an even better betting line for you on Arsenal, because right now Bet99's plus 155 for them to be top four.
Yeah, so like that would be
value.
Yeah, so for me, that'll be unofficial just because I really like the business they did this summer. I think they got a lot better. They're young, so I expect some team progression just on their own. And really, I mean, like they played like a top 4 caliber team after that like relegation level start of like 5 games. So like, I mean, and preseason last year they were horrible. Preseason this year they look much more ready to go. They won the vaunted Florida Cup. I feel a little bit more comfortable with them going into match day 1 than I would have last year. So I'm going to play a little bit of Arsenal to finish top 4.
I'm honestly a little bit shocked that Arsenal and United are as close as they are, because United for me on this book is plus 170 to finish top 4, and then you've got Arsenal plus 155. I think that there's 5 teams that are vying for the top 4 this year. Like, I truly don't believe that United is on the caliber. I don't think that they went out and made the moves that they needed in order to be considered for top 4. So I'm not really considering them at all. Francis, who would be your other top 2 in the top 4?
So I have a good friend of mine who lives in San Diego. He works for the San Diego Loyals, the USL team, basically minor league soccer team here in San Diego. And he's a big Tottenham fan, and we've talked about Tottenham Chelsea for a long time. Walker, obviously you're a big Tottenham fan. But I've been telling my friend Weston that I believe Tottenham will finish higher than Chelsea this year, given the current roster state of Chelsea. So I would have Tottenham third. I'd still have Chelsea over Arsenal because I can't bring myself to trust Arsenal to actually make a top 4. I just think they're going to find a way to bottle it at the end, which is what they seemingly always tend to do. Yes, they have a good roster. Like you said, Walker, also very young. They should get better. It's just something about Arsenal that I can't trust them to finish in that top 4. And I still think Chelsea is a better team than them. Yes, they lost 4-0 in that Florida Cup where it was like 1,000,000 degrees and humidity was just absurd. Yes, they lost that game and Chelsea looked horrific. But I do think Chelsea's going to make 2 or 3 more transfers to really solidify this roster. So the opening day for Chelsea, that roster, that first team that will play, I think that'll look different when the transfer window fully closes at the end of August. Because I think they will make more moves, and I think that roster will get better. So I have Chelsea over Arsenal. I'll have Chelsea finishing 4th. And Tottenham, I'm a big fan of their summer. They've only made, to me, just awesome moves, smart moves. So I think it's a safe bet to have them finishing 3rd as well.
I think the best value play is Arsenal because you get the plus money. The plus 155 is really good. And I don't trust Chelsea either. Like to be honest, I don't trust either of these 2 teams. So I tend to go the value side of things. So I would look at Arsenal. Right. I think Tottenham for me is actually a lock for a top 4, minus 162. I think they just really improved all around as a team. They've got the upfront scoring. They've got a better midfield and back 4. I just think that this is a more complete Tottenham team than we've seen in years past. And so I'm really intrigued to see where they go with it. Now, we'll start talking a little bit more about some other bets. And Walker, I'll start with you. What are maybe a couple of bets that you've got out there right now that you really like as far as EPL goes?
So if you want value, and I want to preface this and since 2000, only 3 teams that have not been Big 6 teams have finished top 4. I think it was Everton twice, Newcastle twice, and then Leicester when they won the league. But if you want to take a shot, I don't hate betting Crystal Palace 35-1 to finish in the top 4, because for me, I have them around just the way that I have them rated. I think that they're the 7th or 8th best team in the league, and I think that there's a world where they jump up to 6th. They were one of the better defensive teams in the league last year. They fortified that, signing Chris Richards. They have plenty of goal scoring options, so I trust that. I like the manager in Vieira. If you believe that one or two of the Big 6 are vulnerable, and I do, then I don't hate a 35-1 shot. I think there's better ways to maybe play Palace to finish really well. Maybe, if you have a market where it's, to win the league without the Big 6, which those markets exist. I have to find one, but I don't hate Palace there. And then my other like kind of weird prop that I played, and this piggybacks off something Francis played earlier. I really love Southampton to be bottom at Christmas on Christmas Day at 8-1. So, traditionally in traditional years, you play every team in the league once before Christmas, and then you play everybody again after Christmas. But this year with the World Cup, you're only playing, I think, 17 teams. There's 3 teams that you're missing before Christmas. So if we believe Southampton's a relegation team, then I love the bet, because the 3 teams that they won't play before Christmas Day are Brighton, Nottingham Forest, and Fulham. So you play everybody that's really good,
and then you avoid your
you don't really
gimme games.
Yeah, like you don't get any of your quote unquote gimmies. So, and I think even their game against Bournemouth is on the road before Christmas. Like they don't even get Bournemouth at home. So, like there's really just you have trouble racking up points for Southampton, and I think if you think they get relegated, being bottom of the table at Christmas Day at 8-1 is a great bet.
I'm intrigued by that one. That's not one that I've seen out there, and it's one that I like. Now, the Crystal Palace one, because I was curious. You had top 4 at the 35-1. I don't hate top 6 at 12-1 either.
I don't either. So, and I was talking to somebody yesterday who had him finishing 7th, and I was like, well, if you have him finishing that close to top 6, then 12-1 is totally worth it.
It's worth a sprinkle then, because I'm probably just going to sound like a terrible United fan, but I just don't think that we're very good. And we're coming off a 58-point season where we didn't get any better. It doesn't feel like. And so I think that we're very vulnerable. Like, think about the amount of times last year where United was dead in the water and Ronaldo had to save them to secure a point or secure 3 points. Like, he probably secured us an extra 8 to 10 points that we probably didn't deserve. So I think that we're very vulnerable. I think we could be in this situation where Arsenal was a number of years ago, where they were kind of hovering around 7 to 9. And I think United
an interesting scenario too is what happens if United start slow and we get to the January transfer window. Like we already heard the whispers of Ronaldo wanting out, and if that essentially that escape route leaves, then how do you that's where you're kind of okay, United's in trouble. Like, I mean, not in trouble from oh god, they're going to finish 15th, but a 9th or something like that. So I like both Crystal Palace and Aston Villa in those markets, because I think both those teams are better than West Ham already. Like I just straight up think those teams are better than West Ham.
Yeah, so, I definitely think we're going to sprinkle on the Palace for top 6. I know that top 4 is phenomenal odds, but I'm going to go a little bit more safe just with that one.
Yeah, and that's why I gave the perspective before. It's you have to understand when you bet this that 4 Big 6 teams are likely going to finish in the top 4. But this team is good enough to finish in the top 6, and
they could also start hot and then you hedge out. There's nothing that says that maybe Palace starts the year they pick up 3 points and a point, and suddenly they're on 7 points through 3 games.
If you bet Palace at any value to finish top 6, top 4, and they go out on Thursday and clap Arsenal at Selhurst, you're going to be oh my god, we're running, we're going to go for this.
We're running with this one. Francis, is there a pick or two that you have out there that you're really chomping at the bit for?
So I'm going to vouch for a Chelsea play that Kenneth, you and I talked about off camera, for Sterling to be the top goal scorer for Chelsea. I forget what the odds are for that. And the reason why I'd be confident in betting Sterling to be that top goal scorer over Kai Havertz, over a Mason Mount, is really because of the names that I just mentioned. Kai Havertz is great. I'm a big Kai Havertz guy, but his last season was so up and down, and we're still looking for that consistent run of form from Kai Havertz. Mason Mount, as great of a player he is, he's not that out-and-out goal scorer by any stretch of the imagination. And obviously, we all know Chelsea's biggest issue is goal scoring. And while there are other reasons why Chelsea signed Raheem Sterling, a very interesting stat that I frankly didn't know of until I read the stat is, out of Raheem Sterling's 109 Premier League goals, 78 of them have come in the past 5 seasons in 161 appearances. And only Liverpool's Mohamed Salah, Tottenham's Harry Kane, and Leicester's Jamie Vardy have scored more goals than Raheem Sterling. So that's why he is the favorite to score the most goals for Chelsea, is because he has the best goal scoring pedigree out of the whole squad by really it really isn't that close to me. So I think he's a really safe bet to be Chelsea's leading goal scorer. Plus, yes, we all know his issues with, well, maybe quote unquote issues with finishing near the net. But the reason why he scores so many goals is because positionally he's always he's always in the right spots, and he plays off the shoulder of the last defender so well. He makes those starting runs at perfectly timed. And as long as Chelsea have the service, which I think they have, the quality to provide the proper service to Raheem Sterling, that I think he will be Chelsea's leading goal scorer next season, mainly because I just don't trust anybody else on that roster to take that goal scoring mantle from Raheem Sterling, and he is a good goal scorer too. So I think that's a super safe bet for Raheem Sterling to be Chelsea's leading goal scorer.
It only concerns me because I look at Chelsea and I feel like you're going to have like 4 or 5 guys that could have anywhere from like 7 to 11 or 12 goals. And I just don't know who's going to be that guy that's going to be at the top. Like, because like I look at a lot of these other top clubs and it feels like, well, we feel like Haaland's going to score 15, 20 goals, whatever it is. You look at Liverpool, you feel like Salah is going to be right there. Harry Kane with Tottenham, Ronaldo with Man U. So it is a little bit more of an unknown, but I'm also not a Chelsea guy, so I would trust your judgment on that one. Like top goal scorer in the Premier League in general this year, like Haaland is the odds-on favorite. He's plus 280. You've got Salah at plus 440, and then you've got Harry Kane at plus 520. I think this is actually the best Harry Kane value that we've probably seen in a little bit. Like I think that he would be one that I would keep an eye on because we talked about Tottenham being a more complete club. If we're going outside shot, I would be, just because of who he is, I would have Ronaldo at 18-1. Like there is that fear of like, if United's not playing well, then he could get transferred out. And so that's obviously a major concern, but I think Man United's going to be bad, but Ronaldo's just so good that he's going to keep scoring. And
I have a longer shot there too. I have a longer shot in that market too. But again, like there's some nuance to it. And it's kind of one where now that I'm thinking about it, like it'll be pretty difficult. But so like Darwin Núñez is 14-1, and I don't get that at all. Like I think that's I think it's going to take him some time to integrate into that team. Yeah. And like Diego Jota is 28-1 on DraftKings, and prototypical perfect striker for Liverpool. And I think that like we've seen some Firmino rumors kind of transfer out, and so like if you get into that spot where like Firmino potentially leaves and Núñez has time, like needs time to find his footing, and Jota's basically starting the Premier League games and Núñez is starting like other games,
and then, there's no Mane, so
yeah, and then like you take Mane out as well, and so like I think Jota at 28-1, because I think like when we start the season this weekend, I think Jota's going to start as striker. Yeah. And if that's going to be the case for most of the season, then I think Jota at 28-1 on one of the best attacking sides in the league. You know, the only concern is like, he's not going to be on pins probably because Salah's going to be on pins. And that's one thing too that you have to like really account for is you want guys that are
there's going to be 5 pen goals throughout the year.
Like, right. And so, and that's why and that's kind of why I'm a little hesitant, but at 28-1, I think it's worth a shot because you're just going to get a guy that is playing on one of the best attacking sides and likely starting most games as striker.
Yeah. So, like I've got on my book Jota at 34-1, so I might sprinkle on that. Like I think that you've convinced me on that front just because I kind of forgot about the fact that Mane isn't there. And I think Salah's going to be, well, Salah's going to score obviously, but he is an assist guy as well. And I think Jota could be the recipient of a lot of those.
Yeah. Son proved last year you don't need Pence to win the Golden Boot necessarily either. So, and he did that from a position that wasn't striker. So, like, it can be done.
Yeah, it definitely can. And I mean, if Jota gets out to a hot start, you know, maybe in the first 5 matches he's sitting on 5-6 goals, you're like, ooh, like, you'd definitely be excited about that. Now, when we're talking about team point totals, we'll go through our teams first and then maybe talk about a couple of the other ones maybe that we like. So we'll start with Chelsea. Since they finished the highest last year. Now, Chelsea finished on 74 points last year. Now, the book that I have, Bet99, they've got Chelsea at under 72 points. They've got that at plus 120. At over 74, they've got plus 120. And then between 72 to 74 is plus 500. So, Francis, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Chelsea's points? Do you think that they can replicate what they did? Do you think they can maybe exceed it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is hard because, as I said before, I really don't think that Chelsea's done making moves. So if we stop right now, if the transfer window ended right now, I'd happily bet the under 72 for Chelsea and take that and be very happy with it because I don't think they've gotten better. I think they're about the same team as they were last season, though I really like Koulibaly a lot. And as I said before, I like Raheem Sterling. But I think Chelsea's issues are still very much there, and especially with Tottenham getting better, I think there's a pretty good chance that they would finish below that 72 point mark. But as I said, that's not the time doesn't stop now. So the transfer window is still going to keep going. They're going to add more guys, and I think once the window's closed, I think I would be more comfortable putting money with them finishing over 72 points. But at the very moment, I think the safe bet is to put the money on them finishing below 72.
Yeah, I'm kind of debating hedging this. Like, I don't like them to get above 74. I just don't see this club doing better. And I know, as you said, the transfer market isn't done, so this team could obviously change. But as it's constructed right now, I think I would hedge both the under 72, and then I would even do the 72 to 74 at plus 500, because I think that gives me a little bit of a cushion if they do decide that they're going to go out and pursue somebody. And obviously, you're then hoping for the 72 to 74 from a value perspective. But I don't think that I think if they get past 74, like, it's not much.
Yeah,
they're a 75 point team, 76 at most. So,
yeah,
Walker, when it comes to Tottenham, we talked about the moves that they made and how they're a much better team. So, Tottenham under 73 is plus 110, over 75 is plus 120, and then between 73 to 75 is plus 100 or plus 500. So, do you think that Tottenham's made the moves necessary to be 4 points or more up from where they were?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely like their over, and like that feels biased, but I'm kind of good with not being biased in futures. So I try to do that, but I do just like their over. I mean, like, it's just easy to see how much better they've gotten and the depth that they've got. Like, it's a squad that, like, you're kind of like, okay, like, if they have some guys get hurt, then like they're gonna be fine. Like, they've put so much depth and just like quality depth into that squad that I feel really good about it. So I like the over there. You said they were between 73 and 75 is plus 500.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, that interests me a little bit.
That was kind of the route that I was going with Tottenham, because I'm looking at the top two, and we had 93 and 92 for Liverpool and Man City last year. I think they're going to get close to that both. Like, I think Man City wins the league again, so maybe they're 95. Liverpool drops down to like 89 type range. But then it's pretty open because I don't like Chelsea as much, and so I think Tottenham's going to exceed their point total, but I just don't know how much more. And so when I see the value of 73 to 75, I'm like, I could see them picking up another win and a draw and then just finishing on 75. So it might even be like we talked about hedging with Chelsea. I might just hedge the between 73 and 75 and then also take the over, because I don't see a situation with how this Tottenham team's constructed where they're going to finish lower than 73. I don't think that they made all those moves to be like the same team that they were last year. So the one that I really hated this one because it's like giving me false hope that United is going to be like somehow better, but we finished on 58 last year. It's under 65. And I want to hammer the under at 100. Like, I think best case scenario, United comes in at 62. Like, I don't even see a scenario where they even remotely get close to going over it. So am I just being a pessimistic fan, or like, is this, what do you guys think?
I mean, I think you're being pretty realistic. I'm looking at the Man United roster, and the attacking talent you have is still there. Like if you have enough goal scoring threat, even if you were to lose Ronaldo, I know that's a big statement, but you still have quality attackers on your team. Your defenders are all right. They're solid defenders, but it's like you
I have
said,
to watch
your
Harry
midfield.
Maguire though for 38 games.
Harry Maguire, he can go away, but you have some good defenders there, but your midfield is bad. Like it's just
bad.
Not a good midfield at all. You signed Christian Eriksen, and he's a fantastic story. He played also really well for Brentford last year, so he'll help. But he's just a lesser Bruno Fernandes. So, what is he really going to do besides provide more depth to that midfield? But you don't have a holding midfielder. You don't have a true box-to-box midfielder either. You're lacking you have some serious holes that you're hoping Frankie de Jong fills, but he's probably not going to United.
Probably not going to.
So,
and it was the signing that I was watching for all summer long, and just hoping and praying that he was coming over, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Yeah. So, Walker, am I crazy for thinking that under 65 feels like a lock?
No, and I think the problem with United too is when you look at how Ten Hag's teams played in Eredivisie, it's all based I think they average 63% possession in that league, which is ridiculous. And a lot of it is based on, okay, we're going to sustain pressure, and then when we lose the ball, we're going to get it back really quick by pressing really hard, which is notably the thing that United did not do well last year. And so when you bring someone in, it feels like it's going to take Ten Hag a few windows to get guys in there who will play his system the way it's designed to be played. Because for everything Ronaldo did well, that dude did not want to press and get the ball back. He just
absolutely not.
No, it was, look, I'm going to be in the box. You get me the ball, I'm going to score, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
He's content with that. And the thing that's been staring me in the face all day, because as I was going through these betting lines, was the fact that Man United's goal differential last year was 0.
Yeah.
We were sixth in the Premier League, and we were 0. We gave up a dozen more goals than Wolves and Crystal Palace, and it's we're just so bad at the back. A team that's finishing top 6 shouldn't be giving up a goal and a half a game. You look at the top clubs, they're giving up below 1. So yeah. I think that's what has my mind screwed up, is that I feel like we're going to give away so many 3-point games, and we're just going to settle for draws a lot. And that's just not a position that you want to be in the Prem. So
you mean you don't think the 5'7" center back is going to care all?
No, I definitely don't think so. Is there any other team point totals that you guys saw that you're intrigued by? The one for me, but this is obvious because I obviously think that Leeds is going to get relegated. Leeds finished on 38 last year, and I like the under 37 at plus 170. I just don't see them staying up, and I think if that is going to be the case, then I think you're going to have to be 35 or less points, probably closer to the 32 mark. So, Walker, any ones for you that you were intrigued by?
Yeah, I'm trying to find some point totals right now. What do you have? Obviously, I think Southampton's point total under is a solid play.
So Southampton would be under 37 at plus 185.
Oh yeah, that's easy. Okay. I think that's a good one. I think Leicester's under is a good one, whatever the total is. Just because
Leicester would be under 50.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel good about that. Just because I kind of floated the thing and joked. I was 14-1 Leicester to get relegated. If they have to sell a bunch of players and stuff like that, I think the quality goes down, and there's a chance that they don't sell those players. But it's almost like stocks a little bit. You're buying rumors a little bit, because in the EPL, a lot of that type of stuff typically comes to fruition. And if that's going to be the case, then you might want to get a little bit ahead of it. Even if it's only 1 or 2 players, that impacts the quality tremendously. So I would like to get Leicester, getting Leicester under 50. That kind of just puts them, that doesn't even put them in relegation territory. That just puts them in bottom half of the table, but not terrible.
And based off your logic from earlier, the Crystal Palace one, it's over 49 at plus 185. And I really think if we're basing it off the logic that we had, because they were 48 last year, we're just saying that they're going to improve a little bit. They're just going to pick up to me, I'm thinking multi-unit play on the point total, and then I sprinkle top 6 and top 4. And then at worst, I think I'm coming out ahead because I've got that plus 185. So that's one that I might sprinkle on as well. Francis,
that number, like my eyes got really big. I was like, oh God, I'm like, geez, keep me away from that total.
Francis, anyone's for you?
What's Aston Villa's? Just because I just don't know.
Yeah, I like
Aston Villa. You're looking at under 49 at plus 108.
I like them too this year, for what it's worth.
Or over 51 at plus 139.
Yeah, I think I'd take the over. I mean, I like their signings. I like getting Diego Carlos. I think he's just a good quality center back, and keeping Philippe Coutinho, I think, was really good for them as well to add that level of dynamism that Coutinho can bring, especially to have him play under Gerrard, that Liverpool connection there for both of them. And I also I think Danny Ings is going to have a bounce back year, and Ollie Watkins will have a better season this year as well. I was big on them signing Leon Bailey last year, but he had injuries and he definitely underperformed. But I like him a lot too. I still like Tyrone Mings as another good young English center back. I think they're going to surprise some people and have a legit chance to be like maybe top 8 in the Premier League next year. So I think I'd have them. I'd take the over for them.
The other one that I looked at, because I do think that they're going to finish bottom, is Bournemouth under 32 at plus 110. Because if you are going to be bottom of the Prem, like, you're not hitting 30 points. Like, you're probably barely crossing 20. Like, we've seen it throughout the years where that bottom team is like 24 points. And I think Bournemouth could be that team. So any other bets that you guys have as far as Premier League goes? I've got 3 for the weekend that I like just early on. Like, I will wait until we're a bit closer to like starting 11s, but there is a few that I like heading into the weekend. Francis, any for you?
Not coming off the top of my head.
Okay, Walker, any for you?
Yeah. So another player prop feature that I saw that I was kind of intrigued by is I saw a Dejan Kulusevski 30-1 to lead the league in assists. And like, when you think about it, he's going to start all the Premier League games. He did last year. He started most of them after he got signed. And like, you're feeding Son, Kane, now theoretically also Richarlison if someone gets hurt. I think he even takes corners occasionally when Son doesn't take them. So like, you have like, there's a path there where he leads the league in assists. And I think like from a expected assist per 90, he was like second in the league last year once he got signed by Tottenham. So the data backs up the supporting cast and like what you would be betting. So when you can find that like 30, I think I even saw 33-1 a few days ago. Like, if you can find that, like, I think that's really interesting as well. So I don't know if I'll play that for sure, but it's something I'm interested in. I haven't really dug into the full like weekend slate yet. I do want some of Palace on Thursday for sure. Duh. You gotta. So I don't know if I'll believe. Yeah. So I don't know if I'll. I don't know how I'll do it. Like, I'm sure that they're plus half a goal. But yeah. So if you get them, you can get them plus half a goal. So basically to draw, I think, or I don't know. I'll find it, but so I think you can probably get them plus half a goal for like plus 105 or something like that.
When it comes to EPL games, a lot of what I look at is the both teams to score. Like, that's kind of my favorite line when I'm looking at games. So the first one was that Palace and Arsenal one. Like, I see that one being 3-1, 2-1 type finish. So that's minus 123 on that one. Once again, I'm going to wait until a little bit closer, but these are kind of where I'm at right now. United,
I like to see numbers
bad. Like, United made me so much money on both teams to score last year because they give up so many, but you always know that if Ronaldo's in the lineup, he's pretty much good for a goal. So that's one that I looked at right off the hop, because you do have United taking on Brighton, and that one's a plus 100 there. I think that we're so bad at the back that that's going to be a 2-1, 3-1 type game. And it could honestly be us dropping points right out.
So you can get Palace to secure a result against Arsenal at home at plus 105. just to get a result, not to win, just to get the result. Draw or win.
I like that one as well. I do think that there's
and if you remember last year, Arsenal went on the road to Brentford to open the season and laid a complete egg.
And the last one that I have as far as the both teams to score, I like Leeds and Wolves because I think that they give up a ton of goals.
Yeah.
And I see that being 1-1 draw, 2-2 draw there to open up the season. So those are the three that I'm tentatively looking at. I'm going to see if I'm going to have them as a part of my official plays once we're a little bit closer to the weekend. But throughout the season, we're going to try and do maybe some EPL like previews, maybe talking some bets heading into Saturday, Sunday, whatever it is. Maybe do some Champions League as well throughout the year. We're going to try and get more into the soccer space this season.
A week one too that I like too is just like not necessarily a both teams to score, but just either a straight over on Spurs Southampton or a Tottenham team total over. They're just Southampton's just so bad at the back,
so bad,
and they play such a high line. Like I feel like Spurs will sit back and maybe not even dominate possession. I feel like they'll just sit back, and when Southampton predictably gives the ball away, it's just going to be like flashing across the field and like quick goals. And
the issue is clearly Vegas thinks that as well because I'm looking at like the Tottenham
is
team
their team total over like 2 or something like that?
So over 1.5 is minus 220. And
wow.
Over 2.5 is plus 128. So
like,
they're baiting you to try and take Tottenham to win like 3-0. So
yeah, see, like that's what I'm kind of like. See, like, and I wouldn't even hate like, God, this can sound bad, but like I wouldn't even hate if you're going for a little value to look at like a little over 3.5 because teams are going to come out and try to fire
320.
Like
there is that blowout every year on opening day. Like comes out and wins 5-0. So
and it's just like when Southampton's going to play the way they're going to play, and they're on the road. So if the crowd gets into it, like there's so many factors there that like, and Spurs have all these new signings. Like I could easily see like, hey, like we're playing a relegation candidate here. Let's just absolutely make a statement before we have to go to Chelsea next week.
Walker, I'll tell you this much. For week one, I'm going to ride with you on that. I'm going to bet it a little bit closer to see if the value maybe switches a little bit more in my favor. But I think I'm going to put a couple units on the over 2.5, and then I'm also going to put a unit on the over 3.5 because I need to bank on a team to blow somebody out opening day. And when I'm looking across the board, like I think Chelsea's got Everton, and I just don't love that one right out of the gate to be a blowout. And
I want Chelsea. See, I want Chelsea to win because I want value on Spurs in week 2.
And the issue is like Liverpool, they're playing Fulham, but it looks like they're on the road. So I'm not crazy about taking a road team to score like 3 or 4.
Well, when we saw this with Brentford last year, those newly promoted teams, their first game back in the Prem, it's going to be a raucous environment that's going to be hard to play in. And I know Liverpool is Liverpool and they're going to win, but like it is something where like it may take them 35 minutes to figure out what in the world is going on because those environments are so hard to play in.
Leicester also gets Brentford opening game at home, and I kind of like them to start out okay, so I might take the over 1.5 team total. That one's minus 120, but we'll put out some plays a little bit closer too. Like we're going to all finalize maybe some future bets that we like. We'll get some graphics done up, and we'll post them on the Off the Ball Network social media accounts for you guys to see, and then we're going to try and also get some lives going maybe early Saturday mornings or Friday nights or whatever it is to talk about some betting as far as the EPL goes, because we want to get a lot more into the soccer space. We have a lot of great soccer fans over at the Off the Ball Network. I don't know if we'd call Edgar a great soccer fan, but he's a soccer fan nonetheless. I kid, of course. I kid, of course. And we'll definitely do a lot more lives as far as this goes. We're going to be going live a lot more as well on the Off the Ball Network betting account. We set that up earlier this week. We're going to give you guys a lot more betting plays throughout our time here. Guys, thanks so much for coming on tonight. Great EPL preview. There's a lot of bets that were talked about tonight. We'll shore up maybe some of our favorites and get them done up in that graphic. And we'll see you guys maybe later this week to talk about opening weekend of the EPL season.